Hey folks, it's Rod with PAL Group here. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth. Today is Tuesday, November 3rd. It's election day. I'm all decked out in the proper attire. So before we jump into today's video, just make sure to smash the like. It shows me some support. Consider subscribing. Click the little bell. You'll be notified on any future updates. In today's video, we're going to discuss some news and events. We'll go over a couple trade reviews that I made today. We'll look at the overall broader market and some individual tickers as well, and what my plan is going into tomorrow and the rest of the week. So stick around and we'll jump into it in just a second. All right, welcome back for another daily market recap. So market just closed and you can see that we're selling off into the end of the day and into extended hours here. It's exactly what I called out. I pointed it out in the group as well, but I'll just bring up, so I did make this note here quite a while ago. Lots of options at 340, 330. Likely want to pin it in the middle around 335. And that's exactly what we got. We were up toward 338. And then right into the end of the day, they pinned it at 335.97. So I was bang on with that. So again, if you're not a part of a group, check out pursuitofwealthgroup.com or powergroup.ca. Learn more about our memberships. We have a 1-week free trial. Like I said, it's just the more eyes we have on the market, the better. And we all work together to beat the market and identify different setups and providing help and just opinions. Obviously, we're not financial advisors, but we can get a general idea of what to expect just by looking at, just having more eyes on the market and knowing what to look for. In today's video, I'm going to just run through things a little quickly here, but I was expecting them to pin that at 335. So it was interesting to see that come to light there at the end of the day. Like I said, I was expecting a sell-off and we did have some decent gains on the day. So it wasn't surprising to see some selling into the end of the day. So first we'll just look at some news and events. So I noticed here that the Treasury market is indicating that the election outcome will soon be known, and it's not really saying who the clear winner is, but the Treasury market is signaling investors expect a clear winner to emerge as president without weeks of uncertainty. But that same thing happened with Hillary and the Trump election. Everything was pointing to a Hillary victory, and we ended up finding out that Trump won. So don't be fooled by the pre-election data. We'll want to, it's interesting to see though that the Treasury market and signals that are flashing are saying that we're going to have a clear winner and it's not going to take weeks to find out. But who knows? Could be a couple of days, could be the weekend, could be a whole week, could be more, especially if Trump isn't very cooperative and refuses to leave office. So just looking at some quick election highlights and updates. So Trump gets a late start on election day. Mail ballot delivery slow again. So let's just take a quick look here at some of the highlights. Judge orders Postal Service to sweep mail facilities in dozen districts for ballots after delivery delays. We saw early vote surpasses 100 million ballots, with Democrats casting more. We saw Trump to watch election results from the Oval Office. North Carolina election results will be delayed by more than half an hour. Trump winning is easy, losing is never easy, not for me at least. And that's pretty much it. Mayor de Blasio, New York City is ready in case of demonstrations, but none planned so far. Unmasked Melania Trump votes in person in Palm Beach. That's pretty much all I have for updates here. So we'll leave it there. I did see that a lot of Americans, well, some Americans are stocking up on cash, gas, food, that type of thing, all the essentials, preparing for any unrest. And this has been something I've been calling for a while now. I was talking to a couple of my family members, and that's what I could see, especially if Trump loses. We could see a lot of the white supremacist groups and the Trump supporters rioting. And then if he loses and refuses to leave office, then we could see even more rioting from the Democrat side and just overall unrest as a whole. And I hear there's a ton of people ready to move to Canada if Trump does get voted back into the office for 4 more years. But personally, I don't really have an idea who's going to win. Obviously, the pre-election data are saying it's going to be a Biden victory, but we'll just have to keep an eye on that. So economic data that we have this week as well. So tomorrow we're going to have I just got some mortgage data that comes out tomorrow. We also have the non-farm payroll tomorrow as well, which is Wednesday, November 4th. Non-farm payroll. We also have some crude oil inventories as well. Let's take a look at Thursday. So Thursday we have the FOMC and jobless claims. So the Fed meeting on Thursday afternoon. We also have the jobless claims coming in the morning. FOMC statement. So that's going to be very, very turbulent in the market as well. So a lot of people are focused on the election, but don't go sleeping on the jobless claims and the non-farm payroll numbers in tomorrow, and also the Fed meeting on Thursday afternoon. So that's pretty much all I have in terms of economic data for you guys. So let's take a look at the charts. So we're still selling off here into after hours, not surprising, and huge sell volume there into the end of the day, but likely just people remaining protective. Bulls were right at it, first thing right out of the gate today, and it was just a full rocket ship straight to a new high of the day, and we were riding this 5-minute uptrend line. Once we broke that, we knew to start looking out for a 5-minute high or low. That's exactly what we got, and then we essentially double topped into a pullback, lost the 5-minute trend, confirmed a 5-minute downtrend here with a lower high and lower low, and then we remained in that 5-minute downtrend until the end of the day, where I was expecting a bounce, which was the high of pre-market, 334.50, and I was expecting 335 to be a night. Like I said, there's a lot of call options at 340, 330, so I was expecting to pin around the 335. Was expecting right here maybe, and you can see that we were rejecting at EMA 12, expecting them to bounce it right around 334 or 335, because that was A, the high of pre-market, and B, we had a nice round psychological number, and C, the options that were showing interest in those ranges as well. So I was expecting a little bit of a flush of 335. That's whenever I covered that short. And then I was looking at this head and shoulders here into the end of the day, but we had a bit of a fake out there, and I was 100% ready for this. I knew that they were likely going to ramp it up into the end and then sell it off a few minutes. And I entered a short here at on the right shoulder, and then I covered it at the neckline because I didn't think that they were going to make it that easy. And then sure enough, they ramped it hard and then gave it all back right into the end of the day. So I'll go over my game plan a little bit later on in the video, but that's SPY for the end of the day. I did have a couple of trades on SPY as well, and CGC. I swung some cannabis stocks overnight last night. I have US and Canadian MJ. Check out my video from last night. Basically just a little bit more in depth of what I was looking at, why I took those positions, why I thought Canadian MJ was going to see a huge gap up, which it did. So again, on the daily chart here, we do have a support line to be watching on the daily. I got a lot of lines here, so I'll just keep it short on this time frame. We've got a weekly inside bar here forming. I do want to keep those lines up because they're going to come in handy here in a minute, but we did hold 319.80 support, so we've yet to confirm a weekly downtrend. Odds are now favoring an equilibrium, so we can expect something like this, but we need to keep this bounce going here, and it's going to be very interesting to see how we close the week. Rejecting at EMA 12 here, it looks like forming a little bit of an upper wick as well. So just looking to see whether or not we lose the weekly uptrend and confirm a downtrend, and whether or not we continue sideways into an equilibrium into the rest of the year. But the daily candle, you can see a little bit of an indecision candle. We had less volume here from the bulls and less volume in general compared to the last few days. And this, if this is the top of the bounce, we'll know that it's the top of the bounce has been set once we lose the hourly uptrend. We did form an hourly. We had a high here, high of the day of 338.25. We came to 338.08. And technically, in after hours, we broke that low. So we are technically in a downtrend here on the hourly, but we're going to need to see more than that to be confident. If you zoom out on the 4 hour, it could potentially be a 4 hour bull flag as well. But on the hourly, all about the support level here at 334.89 tomorrow. If we lose that, then we confirm an hourly downtrend and our daily lower high is likely set. That's all we're going to expect. It's all that's likely going to be expected right now because of the size of the pullback, and this bounce would be a lower high. And then again, it's really going to depend on how high we bounce. If we get close to the recent relative high, then we would favor an equilibrium. But as of right now, we need a little bit more data. So we'll continue to monitor this into tomorrow. Still selling off here after hours. Went from high of the day to low of the day, pretty much, not really the low of the day, but low of the trading day, not pre-market, but you can see that it's just extremely choppy right now. And if you're not comfortable or an experienced trader, this could get very, very choppy and frustrating. So that's basically where we're at on SPY. Taking a look at QQQ. QQQ as well had a double top into a 5-minute downtrend. Same thing, looking at like a head and shoulders, and then a brutal fake out into a high of the day test, and then sell off into the end of the day. And same thing is true for QQQ. So we're fending off weekly downtrends, and we're looking for weekly higher lows, and daily trend changes will give us confidence of those weekly higher lows being set. But again, just expecting a daily lower high, and we'll know that that's been set once the hourly downtrend has been confirmed. And you can see here, we're just looking for an hourly higher low. We did form a lower high, and all about the support at 273.63 tomorrow. Lose that, and we confirm an hourly downtrend, and the daily lower high is likely set. Taking a look at the weekly charts. So we did close below. We were set to close above the 10-week moving average at 336.96, but we did close above it. Stochastic and MACD are still trending down. We closed below the 50-day moving average. We came very close, 338.82. So upper wick, a little bit of a reversal there into the end of the day. Let's take a look at QQQ. QQQ also under the 10-week moving average, 276.86, and we close at 274.65. MACD and stochastic trending down as well. Taking a look at QQQ on the daily, we're below the 50-day, well below the 50-day moving average, and upper wick there as well. So some reversal there into the end of the day, and MACD still trending down on the daily as well. Taking a look at Bitcoin, essentially just the definition of going sideways here. There was looking at a potential head and shoulders here with the neckline, this green neckline. Could still potentially be a BART pattern as well. So I'd be watching out for this type of pattern all the way back down here to support around the 13,500 level on Coinbase. Other than that, let's take a look at some other broader market indices. So IWM, we'll take a look at IWM real quick into the end of the day. Did it sell off? Yes, it did. Straight into a new high of the day. Holding up better than most, holding up better than SPY and QQQ for sure. NQ futures, so NASDAQ futures sold off at the same time into the end of the day. Semiconductors, SMH, same thing, sold off into the end of the day. Let's take a look at the dollar. The dollar did get a bounce going today, and we were looking to form a bit of a cup and handle here, but we failed that into a new low. And a lot of that has to do with the strength in oil and gold as well. So we saw the metals bounce very high today, very hard today, and we are approaching this weekly descending triangle that I've been drawing out for a while now, and we did get to that support line. I'm using the candle wicks on this example because you can see it's been since all the way back here in August that we haven't closed above that. So we could technically go within this pattern for another few weeks. So just keep in mind that we could see a break of this either bullish or bearish sometime within the next month. But personally, I think we'll go sideways. If I had to be a betting man, I would say we're going to go sideways for a little bit longer on gold. XBI into the end of the day, upper wick, so we did sell off as well. We had some huge bull volume there on the biotech sector. XLE laggard, closed near the low of the day. Did have a little bit of a lower wick there, and volume wasn't incredibly high. XLF upper wick. XLRE real estate trust sector, also upper wick, and the healthcare sector sold off into the end of the day as well in a big way with huge volume. So everything fairly similar into the end of the day. We saw, like I said, break new high of the day test into massive sell-off into the end of the day. So let's take a look at my SPY trade review. So this morning, I entered SPY here. Whoops. So I was looking at SPY. I was eyeing SPY for an entry, and I covered my, I had some swings in MJ. I covered my MJ at the open, but we saw a lot of inverse correlation to MJ and SPY today as well. But I was watching this uptrend here on the 5-minute, and I knew we were getting close to 5-minute overbought. So that was another reason why I was looking. Then we had some looking to go short, and then we had some 5-minute bearish RSI divergence here, and price was trending up, and the RSI was trending down. And so I entered one short here on this failed attempt at 338.24. And then when we hit 338.25, I was actually watching for a head and shoulders, but then it turned into a double top. So once we hit 338.25, I shorted again in a second position. And then I covered my position here at, I think it was around, I think it was on this bounce here. So I think I covered at 317.17 or 337.17. And then I re-entered here. You can see that we were failing at EMA 12. So I re-entered my short here looking for a 5-minute trend change and downtrend. And that's what we got. And we were also looking at a 5-minute bear flag. Bear flag confirmed into a downtrend, covered my short there again, and then went short again when we failed on EMA 12, just for some quick flips, just some small gains, but just continually increasing the investment account and trying my best not to give back any profits. So like I said, once we failed that EMA 12, that nice guide, I re-shorted again. And then I knew to be looking at the high at pre-market, which was 334.50. And we also had 335, which is a nice round psychological number. We were also approaching 5-minute oversold. That's whenever I covered my short. And then I actually went long SPXL, which is 3X bull ETF, and was looking for a 5-minute trend change. We got over EMA 12, and then we were looking for a 5-minute higher low. I set my stop below that 5-minute higher low, and then sold here once we broke to a new high. I didn't get all the way up to the high there. I think I sold it around the 336 level, and then I shorted it again here looking for a head and shoulders, and covered it expecting them to bounce it. I didn't think they were going to make it that easy and ramp it into the end of the day. And then, like I said, sold off into the end of the day, all cash from that position going out overnight. Like I said, I'll go over some of my swings and my game plans here in just a moment, but that was my trade review on SPY. We also had oil and gold pulling back at the same time whenever I entered my SPY short. So I entered my SPY short here. So when I entered there, oil and gold were also consolidating. So that gave me confidence. Green arrows when I entered SPXL and flipped long. Taking a look at, we already looked at gold. So SPY, we already looked at the 5-minute resistance on EMA 12. And I already talked about that as well. So let's move on to some individual tickers. I've been highlighting this for a while. Apple essentially went sideways most of the day. Very uneventful. Amazon still forming this weekly head and shoulders pattern. And we also have one on Microsoft as well. So most important weekly charts and tech charts for me right now. Apple looks a lot like QQQ. So trying to fight off weekly downtrends, looking for a weekly higher low. We'll know that the weekly higher low has been set once we change the daily trend. Bulls will look to get a biggest bounce as possible on the daily to form lots of space to form that higher low. And we'll be looking at the hourly trend here as well. If we can confirm an hourly downtrend, then that will indicate that the daily bounce is likely topping out. So that's pretty much it for the Apple chart. Taking a look at Tesla. I know a lot of people were interested about Tesla today as well. So Tesla, just looking for a weekly higher low as well. So very similar to Apple. And we'll know that that weekly higher low has been established when we form a daily trend change. Bulls got a lot more room. So Tesla clearly a lot more bullish than Apple, with a lot more room, could potentially drop another 11% and still form a higher low. So we are expecting a daily lower high because of the size of the pullback. We'll know that that daily lower high has been set once we lose the hourly trend. So all about support of through 419.81 going into tomorrow. Lose that, we confirm an hourly downtrend, and daily lower high is likely set. But like I said, lots of room to form that daily higher low and higher high and change that trend. That's pretty much all I want to highlight in terms of individual tickers. I do have a position in DDD, 3D printing, up 8% today, so that was nice to see. Riot Bulls were flexing their muscles, up 6%. On the downside, Alibaba was down 8% on some news of Ant Group and Shanghai basically intervening in that IPO. That's pretty much it in terms of notable losers, because it was pretty much green across the board today. So congrats to the Bulls. Let's take a look at some MJ stocks. So like I said, MJ stocks were trading very inversely today to SPY and the overall broader market. Broader market, when it opened today, we saw just a straight moonshot and move up and didn't form any higher lows or anything on the 5-minute. Meanwhile, CGC saw a huge gap up, like I called out in my video yesterday. Said I was swinging overnight, anticipating a gap up, and I sold first thing at the open and looked to reload. Sorry, that's Aurora. Here's CGC. Sold first thing at the open. I think I sold. I think I filled around the 21.20s, and then I saw this 5-minute inverse head and shoulders, and that's whenever I reloaded here on this right shoulder, and still holding that position as well, basically just riding the profits from my entry at $14. So I started scaling in around $14. So from 14 to 21 and change, essentially made about, I think it was 15% or 20% of the profits that I took into the swing overnight. So very comfortable sitting in those positions. Mostly cash going into tomorrow. I do have some position in CGC, Afria, Hexo, and a bunch of US MJ tickers as well, such as Trueleaf, Cureleaf, Cresco, to name a few. But like I said, once we formed that inverse head and shoulders, that's when I re-entered, knew that we were probably going to see enough selling. And at the same time, that's when SPY started to correct. So when SPY was trending up, MJ was trending down, and when we bottomed on the MJ and started to go back up, that's when SPY started to correct, and then basically just went sideways into the end of the day. So that was my trade review on CGC. Like I said, I swung it overnight in that bullish position, in that swing position, and then I sold it at the open, rebought again on that IHS on the 5-minute, and I will look to hold that overnight tonight as well. Let's just take a look at some other notable movers here. So keep in mind that CGC is very close to changing the monthly trend. So we had the low here at $9, the high at $22.19, and now we're looking to form a monthly higher low. So it's all about $22.19. If we can get over $22.19, that's going to confirm a monthly uptrend, and that's going to be the first time that's happened since the all-time highs. We are over EMA 12 resistance here on the monthly, which has been acting as resistance since we broke down from all-time highs. So that's very notable. And we have earnings coming up on the 9th of November, which is Monday. I haven't seen anything official out yet, but that's what we have here on TradingView. So we'll check back into that a little bit later on in the week to get confirmation of that as well. but definitely a little overextended here on the weekly. We are forming an upper wick, and we haven't formed a higher low here in 5 weeks. So we know it's going to come eventually, and we'll know that the weekly top is likely set, and we can see some weekly consolidation once we lose the daily uptrend. Still in a daily uptrend at this point, so no red flags. Most important support on the daily for me is 1811. So that's pretty much all I have for CGC. Taking a look at CGC, so very bullish on the weekly still. Taking a look at the daily chart. Could still be forming that golden cross, so don't go sleeping on that either. 50 getting very close to the 200 and the 100 day. This could be an explosive move. And the daily MACD just crossed bullish as well. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys in terms of individual tickers. Let me know in the comments below if there's any other tickers you are following or you'd like covered. But that's pretty much all I had for you guys today. We didn't really see a whole lot in the cannabis space today. Everybody else is kind of similar to CGC. So I did have a Hexo position. I made a couple trades in Hexo today as well. Let's just bring it up here on the shorter term time frame. So I sold it at the open as well and just rebought it, flipped it a couple of times, nothing major, just a penny or two here and there, essentially lowering my cost average. I think my average now is 62 cents on the NYSE. But bouncing back nicely from that negative earnings reaction and the reverse split news that came out. All right, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content today. Let me know in the comments below what your game plan is overnight and into the rest of the week. I'm personally going to be expecting, either way, I'm going to expect to see a lot of social unrest. And in my opinion, the worst case scenario would be a Trump losing scenario, because we would see people rioting from Trump supporters. And then let's say he was trying to say that he wasn't going to leave office and basically contests it and says that, whether the mail-in voting wasn't fair enough or whatever excuse he comes up with, then we could see even more riots from that. So personally, I'm swinging some Canadian and some US MJ overnight. I'm also swinging a little bit of tech stocks and some other miscellaneous stocks, and I'm hedging with SPXS and SQQQ, which are 3x leverage bear ETFs for SPY and QQQ, the tech sector. So again, make sure you establish a game plan. Be safe going into tomorrow. Cash is not a bad position either. I wouldn't recommend trading right now unless you have a few years trading under your belt. So with that, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll see you tomorrow for another daily market update.